Hi everybody, Troy Sage here, and it's come to my attention by request that we go over the proper way to handle backup offers. So let's start by saying this. In today's market, we're rapidly approaching the end of 2013. We still have a very low inventory and a lot of buyers. So we're getting multiple offers on properties, and what you see on your screen right now is the California Association of Realtors forms BUO, which is your backup offer addendum. I cannot express enough how important it is that you use the proper forms and use forms. What happens is, in our market right now, a lot of agents will be representing a buyer. They send an offer over to the listing agent or the seller's agent, and the seller's agent says, hey, I'm really sorry, we accept another offer, but we'll hold yours in backup position. Well, that's all fantastic, except for what do you have in writing? How are you going back to your buyer to say, hey, we're in backup position? So technically, what should be done is this form should be completed. So let me kind of show you how this form works. This is your backup offer addendum. Very simple. The listing agent either checks the box for the purchase agreement, or if there's a counteroffer, inputs all the information and the date. Here's where it gets really exciting. This paragraph number 1, it says this agreement is in backup position number. Well, what number? Now, if there's multiple offers and the seller doesn't want to particularly stick with one backup offer, they can hold all the backup offers in backup position. So in this particular area, what is going to be typed in is TBD, to be determined. And it's contingent upon written cancellation of any prior contracts and or related escrows, so on and so forth. If you scroll towards the bottom, it says if the seller is unable to provide such written signed cancellation to buyer by blank date, then either buyer or seller may cancel this agreement in writing. So basically, what the listing agent should be doing is putting in a number or to be determined up here. And technically, what I suggest agents do is in this section right here, is they're going to put in 18 days from the time that the offer was accepted that the seller is actually taking. This would give the buyer enough time to go through all their contingency removals and inspections and appraisals, so on and so forth. And it would keep the buyer and, the seller and this backup position buyer's agent communicating. Scrolling down to paragraph number 2, the buyer's deposit check, if any, shall be, it can be held uncashed until copies of the written cancellation is signed by all parties to the prior contracts or provided to the buyer, or if checked, immediately handled as provided in the agreement. What this means is here, if this box is not checked, there is no earnest money deposit being given to anyone. It is simply going to be held uncashed, possibly by the buyer's broker. It could be held uncashed by an escrow company, title company, so on and so forth. But if this box is checked, that means that the buyer's deposit must be immediately handled according to the purchase agreement. So if the purchase agreement states within 72 hours or 48 hours or 2 days or 3 days or whatever has been completed on the purchase agreement, that the buyer will deposit their earnest money deposit with escrow, whomever. If this box is checked, even though they're in backup position, that money has to be delivered or else we're out of contract. Time periods of this agreement or investigations, contingencies, covenants, and other obligations shall begin on the day after seller provides buyer copies of signed cancellation or prior contracts, or if checked, all time periods shall begin as provided in the agreement. However, if the date of close of escrow is a specific calendar date, that date shall not be extended unless agreed to in writing by the buyer and seller. What this paragraph simply means is this: if the buyer is in backup position and this box is checked, all time periods shall begin as provided by the agreement. So if this box is checked right here and buyers and sellers sign this, the buyer now, whether it's 17 days live contingencies, 5 days live contingencies, whatever, how many days are on the purchase agreement, that means that's what the buyer has to do. They have to perform and start doing their due diligence. So in completing this form, be very careful that these boxes are checked appropriately or not checked at all. Most agents are not checking these boxes because the fact that they don't want money to change hands, and we don't want some of the listing agents don't want that buyer to feel like they're being locked into something. On the other hand, I disagree. I would be more inclined to want to have that buyer's money in escrow. This way they're going to wait. They're not going to go out and try to find another home necessarily. And this box right here, a lot of agents are not checking the box because they're leaving everything open until the first agreement is either fulfilled or has been canceled. This box right here, I'm not sold either way on if it should be checked or not. I think it's on a case-by-case basis. Remember, this has to be signed by the seller and by the buyer. Once this is signed, please put this in your file. I would also send a copy over to escrow and make sure everyone has copies. Now, let me show you something else here. I'm going to bring up another screen. Not that one. Let me bring up another screen here. Here's our residential purchase agreement, and I am on page 8 of the California Residential Purchase Agreement. Let me scroll up. When an offer is presented, whether it's accepted, it's subject to the counteroffer, or it's rejected, it's extremely important that down here on the bottom, the presentation of the offer, the broker or the designee's initials must be here, and the date must show when it was presented to the seller. If you do not get a copy of this back and you're representing a buyer, I would immediately contact the broker, because what's happening in our market right now, and it's happened for years, that listing agents will say, yes, I presented the offer, but they didn't accept it. We accepted another offer. Well, make sure that this is signed and dated, because how are you going to go back to your buyer and say, well, yeah, it was presented, but your offer wasn't accepted? If I'm a buyer, I'm going to say, well, what offer was accepted? Well, if my agent says, I don't know, or I'm not sure, well, it kind of ruins my credibility. So in regards to the backup position, this offer does not have to be, excuse me, first of all, the offer has to be presented. And then the backup offer addendum must be completed. That's how this works. If you're an agent right now anywhere in the country, and if you're on my training website, you've probably already learned a lot about contracts and so on and so forth, then you know that we follow the contract dotted I and crossed T. A lot of agents are not doing this. If they are not doing this and you're not getting the kind of response that you want from that agent, go to the broker. Remember, the buck stops with the broker. If the broker ignores you and the broker is not participating and doing what needs to be done, be proactive. We have to police our own in this industry. Call your Department of Real Estate. In California, it's the Bureau of Real Estate now. Call them. File a complaint. Let them know what's going on. Keep everyone in the loop. What it will do for you when you do the right thing, you follow contracts and you follow the rules, is it will build your credibility. You will get referral after referral, and your transactions will go much further because you are following contract. As real estate agents, we are simply negotiators and navigators. We're not really salespeople. Fantastic, very successful real estate brokers and agents, they're not salespeople. People know what they want to buy. You show them what they're looking for, they're going to buy it. One of the key things that we must do and be laser focused on is our contracts, following the contract, and make sure that we have paperwork for every single thing that's done. Agreements done verbally, an email, yeah, they may hold up in court, but why put yourself through that? So go back to the basics. I'm going to pull up this backup offer addendum. Make sure this is in your template when you're writing offers for buyers. Make sure that you understand this and make sure that it is used. If for some reason you're working with a listing agent that's not using it, please make them aware of it. It has to be used, or else you have nothing to stand on with your buyer in regards to where you're at in backup position. Okay? So any questions, contact me. My email's on my training website, troysagetraining.com. And I appreciate the input, and make it a great day. Bye for now.